Full disclosure, I've already had one crack at recording this video, and it just did not work. This video is already... oh my god. This video is already proving to be very difficult to shoot. That is Premenstrual Dysphoric Disorder at work. In part 1 of my PMDD story, I focused on my history with the condition and the associated anxiety and depression. In this video, I'm going to present 7 lifestyle strategies that I've used to help keep my life in balance while navigating this condition. So stick around. Hi, I'm Leslie, and I am a life coach based here in Brisbane, Australia. I am recording this video in April 2021, and it is PMDD Awareness Month. In my first video on this subject, I described PMDD as PMS times 1,000. It might be more accurate to say times like 1,000,000. But that's because it comes with the usual symptoms of PMS, but those symptoms are magnified. And they also last for a longer period, often for the entire luteal phase of a person's menstrual cycle. So from the moment of ovulation until menstruation begins. That's around 2 weeks. Every month. That is hard. So it's also no wonder that PMDD was officially added to the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, or the DSM, back in 2013. At the top of this video, I stated that I would focus on lifestyle strategies. And the reason I emphasize the word lifestyle is because I am not offering medical advice. I do take an SSRI and nutritional supplements to help manage my condition from a physiological aspect, but that regimen was only established after a lot of discussion with my doctor, with my psychologist, with a gynecologist specializing in PMDD. So if you need a tailored regimen that fits you and your physiology, you need to speak to your medical team. Now, the strategies I'm about to outline, again, are based on my personal context, so I'm not expecting you to just be able to take them verbatim and apply them to your life. But if you or someone you love is a PMDD warrior, you may be able to find something in my strategies that you can adapt to help you manage and live with this condition. Strategy number 1, communicating openly with my partners about my cycles. My husband, Tony, is my primary partner. We live together. We have a 4-year-old daughter, so we share a lot of responsibilities. We don't have time for guessing games. If I'm not functioning up to my usual capacity, that is going to have an impact on how things run at home. So if he knows where I am in my cycle, that gives him the information that can help him prepare to protect his own mental well-being during that time. Because he may have to pick up the slack somewhat when it comes to certain household chores or things involving our daughter. And that may not be necessary every single month, but it's always better to be prepared just in case. I use an app called Clue, which you've probably heard of. And one thing that's great about this app is that it has a function, it's called Clue Connect, that allows you to share your cycle with another person. So I've shared that information with Tony. He can access it on his end without having to consult with me, and that way he can use the app himself to see where I am in my cycle and prepare accordingly. And speaking of clue, that brings me to number 2, careful scheduling. My period runs like clockwork, so I know when I am going to start bleeding and when I'm going to ovulate. That means that I can plan ahead to schedule what I call my input days and my output days. This is especially important when I'm doing tasks related to running my business. I know that during the first half of my cycle, I'm going to be at the top of my game. The energy, the focus will be there, and it will come pretty effortlessly. Things will just click and flow. Those are my output days. That's the best time for me to create heaps of content, to record YouTube videos, to prepare workshops or presentations, to follow up on new leads for clients, things that have a specific aim that require a lot of focus. On my input days, I focus on research. I read books or academic journals, blogs. I do my homework as a coach. I watch thousands of TED Talks, YouTube videos, listen to podcasts, attend workshops or webinars. So I'm taking in information that's adaptable to whatever state of mind I might be in at a given moment. If I really need to reread or rewatch content, I can do that. So I make sure that I have a thorough and clear understanding of what's being presented. I give myself the explicit permission to slow down. There are times where the fatigue or the brain fog will be so bad that I need to take a nap or take some sort of a brain break. And I apply this careful scheduling to my coaching sessions as well. For example, if I'm meeting a brand new client for the first time, I prefer to schedule those sessions during my output days. That doesn't mean that I wouldn't do a good job on my input days. It just means that I would require a bit more preparation, a bit more space around the session in order to be completely focused and prepared to offer my best service to that client. With an existing client or someone I've seen several times, there's so much more familiarity there, and there's still preparation necessary, but it's a much more efficient process because there's a lot of information there already to work with. So I'm quite comfortable conducting those sessions during any stage of my cycle. And if I know that I'm going to have to spend more time kind of creating space around myself, in my mind, in order to best support clients during my input days, that means that I will make myself officially less available to see a large number of clients. I keep it really small on those days. Strategy number 3. Pampering, in the form of self-care and social activities. Now, if you're one of my PMDD homies, you might be thinking, social activities? What? I don't want to talk to anyone when I'm in my hell week. But this is what I'm talking about. I plan ahead to spoil myself a little bit during my input days. So rather than saying, oh, I need to avoid doing this, I schedule things that I can look forward to. It might be, an at-home spa facial, or hell, a professional spa facial, massage, going out for coffee or lunch with one of my friends, or anything that will bring some little moment of joy when I'm in my sunken place. And I schedule these things during my output days for my input days, because when I am in my sunken place, one of the biggest challenges is that feeling of being overwhelmed by choice and by life in general, and then having to decide what to do to bring myself out of it can just add to that noise. But having those things written in my little wellness diary that I got at like Officeworks or something, it takes the guesswork out of it. I don't have to think about it, I just do it. It's kind of like writing little notes to Sad Leslie. It's like, no, this is the plan. Happy Leslie said Sad Leslie is going to do this on this day at this time. Now go do it. Strategy number 4. PMDD memes. On Reddit, Facebook, Instagram, there are groups specifically dedicated to sharing PMDD memes. And it is awesome when I feel like things are just becoming too much, and then I find that one image, that one silly little picture that so perfectly encapsulates what I'm feeling. It makes me feel seen. I feel less alone. I feel like there are people out in the world that relate to my struggle, and potentially who I can reach out to for support. Actual legit studies have shown that people suffering from depression who look at depression memes can receive some positive benefits from that. Of course, it's not a cure for depression, but it can give you those little boosts that you need along the way. And that's probably the same thing that's happening with PMDD memes. When you have a community of creators who rally against a common enemy, something very dark and upsetting, and then poke fun at it, it's such a good reminder that there are other people going through this all the time. And for me, it's like a little signal, a little reminder that whatever I'm feeling is only temporary, and that I've been through it before, that I've gone through it and come out the other side, and I'm going to do the same this time as well. Strategy number 5. Prioritizing sleep. Sleep is always important, but there is a huge difference in the amount of sleep that I can function on during my luteal phase versus my follicular phase, which is the other half of my cycle. My energy levels are much lower. I become severely fatigued a lot more easily. So if I stand any chance of staying awake for more than 2 hours or so at a time during the day, I need a good, solid sleep the night before. So I have a routine. 8 o'clock hits, my silent alarm goes off, I take my medications, my supplements, I have a shower. After that, I put on lots of lotions, and then I slide into bed, and I read a book. Not my phone, not my iPad. For me, it has to be a hard copy. Now, I am a tech person, but there's something so centering about holding a hard copy book in my hands where both of my hands are occupied. I don't get distracted, and it just, I don't know, there's just something so tactilely, there's a tactile wonder involved. I don't know, I like it. And I also annotate the heck out of my books. The reason this routine is so important for me is because it gives me that signal that says, okay, Leslie, we are activating the sequence that will end in sleeping. Nothing else. That is the aim. We're not going to do anything else but prepare for sleep. And then I just run on autopilot from there. I do not work gleefully into the late hours of the night the way I might when I'm not in my sunken place, because I know that if I do that, I will pay for it the next day. So it becomes a very straightforward decision. Do I want to feel like crap tomorrow, or do I want to feel somewhat human tomorrow? Yeah. Strategy number 6. Creating art. I bill myself as a life coach, a speaker, and a co-creator. And that's because one of the ways in which I connect with people on a deep and intimate level is through artistic expressions, through creative pursuits, through collaboration. And I grew up surrounded by photography. Up until I left the United States for good, I always had a darkroom, either in my home or somewhere that was easily accessible. Even when I was living in New York City, I brought my darkroom into my basement, and I had one there. My dad has always been into photography, my grandfather was into photography, so a lot of the equipment that I have, stored somewhere back in Pennsylvania, some I have here, is from my family's personal collection. I also used to draw and paint a lot as a kid, and I've also been a tech person since I was a kid. So when I started living in different countries as I got older and as I was venturing out on my own, I couldn't drag all of that stuff around with me all the time. So I shifted my focus a lot to creating digital images. When I'm feeling like I'm slipping into a deep hole, it can be really helpful sometimes to pull out my camera, my computer, my iPad, whatever I might be using, and create images that tell a story. I get lost in the process. I can play and explore and unleash my imagination. And that might sound like an output days exercise, but the difference here is that when I'm creating something artistic, it's a much more subjective process. And it kind of happens on autopilot. And the outcome that I'm expecting can go in any direction, and that's okay. Whereas doing something with a much more intentional outcome for my coaching business isn't always an option. Sometimes it is, but sometimes it's not. Now, I know I could be flashing a bunch of images of the work I've been doing recently, but I'm gonna save those for the new website that I'm developing for my artwork. And if you follow me on Instagram or Facebook, you'll see my announcement for when I actually launch that website. So follow me on my socials. Strategy number 7. Blowing bubbles. I am not kidding. I am really not kidding. When I was working at my last university job, you know those like little tiny bubble things you get at parties or weddings? I used to keep one of those at my desk. And when I felt stressed, when I really needed to just breathe, I would grab it, I would sit back in my chair, turn away from my computer a bit, and just because it made my breathing pretty. And I'm such a visual person, so that image of these happy little bubbles just floating out into space, it added that extra degree of relaxation to that moment. I am also a giant bubble artist. Every Saturday morning, I take this bucket of my homemade bubble solution, and I take these homemade bubble wands, and my family and I, we go to one of our local farmers markets here in Brisbane, the West End markets, and I just make magic. And it brings me so much goddamn joy to find myself surrounded by all of these kids and their parents and people who are just hanging out, going, wow, and chasing these bubbles and chasing each other and just running around and having fun, and all the joyful noise that produces. It brings so much light into my heart, especially during my dark weeks when I've got these goblins trying to suck all the joy out of my brain. And it's interesting in a way. It's almost like making these giant bubbles and having these people all around me with these happy faces and warm comments, and their expressions of gratitude. It is as if I'm creating a physical force field around myself. And in those moments, I feel untouchable by my PMDD. So, those are just 7 of the lifestyle strategies that I use to help balance my life a bit and keep myself going while living with PMDD. If you are also a PMDD warrior, I want to hear from you. What strategies have you tried? What advice are you sick of hearing? And what do you think needs to be done to raise more awareness about this condition? Because an increase in awareness of this condition can lead to more funding for research and for treatments. So if you've got something to say about it, leave me a comment, send me a message. Let's talk about it. Bye-bye. Thank you for watching, and if you found this video helpful, make sure to give it a big thumbs up and share it with someone else who can benefit from it. Subscribe to my channel and hit the notifications bell so you know exactly when I've uploaded a new video. You can also book a free life coaching session with me through my website, leslievcoaching.com, and we can work together online or right here in my studio. Follow me on my socials to keep up with what I'm doing, and please get in touch with any questions, comments, or video ideas you may have. I'm Leslie V, and I'll see you in the next video.